We begin today's show with the major development that the IDF ground offensive in Gaza is expanding as the IDF is deploying another division into Gaza. Defense Minister Israel Katz said this morning the expansion will increase the pressure on Hamas as troops work to clear the area of terrorists and infrastructure. Here's what you need to know. War wages inside of Gaza as extensive overnight airstrikes battered parts of the southern Gaza Strip. Palestinian media reports large waves of strikes were felt overnight in Rafah and Khan Yunis. Defense Minister Israel Katz announced this morning on X the IDF began expanding the operation, which will, quote, increase pressure on Hamas murderers and also on the population in Gaza and advance the achievement of the sacred and important goal for all of us. Katz went on to say Operation Strength of Sword is to increase pressure for the release of all hostages in Hamas captivity, but says he is also calling on the residents of Gaza to act now to remove Hamas and return all hostages. He also said troops will move to, quote, capture extensive territory that will be added to the state of Israel's security areas. Troops began advancing into Rafah this morning, which on Monday, a mass evacuation was issued for people living in or around the city of Rafah to leave immediately. The IDF also issued an evacuation order to people living in between Rafah and Khan Yunis, a location where the IDF did not previously operate in with ground troops. The Hostages Families Forum expressed outrage in response to the announcement of the military expansion, saying the government has an obligation to free all 59 hostages from Hamas captivity and to pursue every possible channel to advance a deal for their release. They say the lives of the hostages hang in the balance as more disturbing details continue to emerge, and every day that passes puts their loved ones at greater risk of death at the hands of Hamas terrorists. And the forum is also calling on the Trump administration and mediating countries to continue exerting pressure on Hamas for the immediate release of the hostages. Meanwhile, released hostage Elia Cohen is breaking his silence, speaking publicly for the first time about captivity in an interview with Israel's Channel 12. He issued a heartfelt plea to Israeli leaders to do more to bring the remaining hostages back home. ILTV's Mayan Hoffman has the story.
Former hostage Elia Cohen shared his story publicly for the first time last night. In a powerful interview aired on Israel's Channel 12, the 27-year-old, who spent 505 days in captivity, described the horrific conditions he endured: chained underground, near starvation, injured and emotionally broken. He detailed the October 7th attack, his abduction, and the harrowing survival alongside fellow hostages, including Alon Ohel, who remains in Gaza.
השרשראות מאוד מאוד צמוד. השרשראות חותכות לך את הרגליים. אתה הולך לשירותים ולוקח לך 10 דקות להגיע לשירותים. הסיטואציה היחידה שמורידים לך את השרשראות ברגליים זה נטו שאתה הולך להתקלח. אתה רואה אותם עם חיוך על הפנים של... אתה מבין שזה חרטה, אתה מבין שהם סתם באו לדפוק עליך סטלבט, אבל אתה אומר בונה, כאילו לאיזה רמות אפשר לרדת.
אין יותר נאצי מזה.
לא, אין יותר נאצי מזה.
There are human beings underground, he said in a message to Israel's leaders. Find a solution. Continuing the fighting is a death sentence. Elia's recovery, both physical and psychological, is far from over. He still struggles with hearing loss, pain, and the emotional toll of captivity. But his courage to speak out is a voice for those who can't. Every day I spent there, I promised myself I'd get home, Elia said. And I promised alone I wouldn't stop fighting until he does too.
Thanks so much, Mayan, for that report. And mixed emotions here in Israel as this ground offensive continues to expand. And joining us now to discuss is Major General retired Yaakov Amidror, former head of the National Security Council, current fellow at Jerusalem Institute for Strategy and JINSA Strategic Center in Washington, D.C. Thanks so much for joining us today. Now, tell us what the significance of expanding this ground offensive is. What does this mean exactly, and what should people expect?
Get them is to make a war in which the IDF will go all over the Gaza Strip, put its hands on the members of Hamas, deteriorate the capabilities of Hamas to fight inside Gaza Strip, and reaching the hostages in the military way to release them. But the combination of releasing the hostages and the war means that Israel is determined to destroy Hamas totally. Totally means that it remain as an idea. It remain as a dream. But all the members of Hamas will be disarmed or will be killed or both.
So Defense Minister Israel Katz said this morning troops will move to capture extensive territory that will be added to the State of Israel security areas. Tell us, what does this mean? Is he referring to expanding a buffer zone between Israel and Gaza?
Because he didn't elaborate, I really don't understand what does it mean. The only logic that there is in those words of the Minister of Defense is extending the buffer zone around Gaza. I don't see any other goal that might be fulfilled by extending or whatever. Today, Hamas is not relevant as a threat to Israel. We are fighting Hamas in the last almost 2 or 3 weeks, and he succeeded to launch with the Islamic Jihad together 7 or 8 missiles into Israel. That's all. Not even one raid towards the border of Israel. And the resistance inside Gaza is very limited. So as the military structure of Hamas was destroyed, now we have to go after all the groups one by one to identify them, to find them within the civilians, and to kill them all. And that will be a long operation, less extensive in using firepower. It will be more an effort to go building after building to identify them and to kill them and to destroy all the remnants of the underground system which still exists in Gaza.
So Katz also said this morning he's calling on the residents of Gaza to remove Hamas and return all of the hostages. Now, we know unprecedented large anti-Hamas protests took place in Gaza last week, but we're starting to learn details about a 22-year-old man who was murdered by Hamas for participating in one of those protests. Now, his family told the Free Press news outlet their son was stabbed 170 times with screwdrivers and knives. His body was mutilated and tortured and eventually thrown off of a tall building. It's absolutely horrifying to even just recount this on our show, but these are the realities of who Hamas really is. Now, when details like this come to light, what more can it tell us about Hamas and how they operate inside of the Gaza Strip?
As I said, Hamas is not relevant as a threat towards Israel at the present. What we have to make sure and to guarantee for the future that it will not be stronger in the future and will not be a threat to Israel in the future. And for that, we have to reconquer the whole Gaza Strip and to eliminate all its remnants, including the people, the commanders, all the terrorists, the infrastructure, the underground infrastructure, and so on and so forth. What this story tells us is that Hamas is still strong enough to control Gaza. The people of Gaza are not strong enough to stand against it, because whoever will stand against Hamas will be assassinated immediately, will be tortured, his family will suffer, and so on and so forth. So if we want to save the life of as many people in Gaza as possible, and to make free Gaza from the atrocities of Hamas, if we want to give the people of Gaza any chance to rebuild Gaza and to live in normal life, it's the only way is to destroy Hamas totally.
Well, thank you so much for your perspective today, all of your time, especially as all of this continues to develop inside of the Gaza Strip.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and the Chag Sameach.
Now, Israeli officials reveal a targeted strike on a residential building in the Hezbollah stronghold of Dahiyeh prevented a potentially massive terror attack that was being plotted. It's a story we first reported on yesterday, and officials say it could have likely harmed hundreds of Israelis abroad. ILTV's Devo Klein has all of the details here.
Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar confirmed the elimination of Hassan Ali Mahmoud Badir, senior operative in Hezbollah's Unit 3900 and the Iranian Quds Force, in yesterday's Dakhia strikes. In a joint IDF and Shin Bet announcement, officials also confirmed that Badir was heading a rare joint Hamas-Hezbollah network, planning an imminent terror attack on Israelis abroad.
Early this morning, or very early this morning, IDF fighter jets struck a Hezbollah terrorist in Beirut. He had recently been directing Hamas terrorists and assisting them in an attempt to carry out a major imminent attack against Israeli civilians. The terrorist posed a real and immediate threat, what we called a ticking bomb. Therefore, we had to eliminate the threat.
Israeli intelligence unveiled the plot of a large-scale terror attack that could have harmed hundreds, if not thousands, of Israelis abroad. These strikes were a result of an extended intelligence operation of a Shin Bet unit tasked with dismantling overseas Hamas networks. While the Lebanese Health Ministry reported 4 people were killed and 7 injured, Sa'ar urged the Lebanese government to take swift action against Hezbollah threats close to Israel's border.
U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed this week that he's considering his former ambassador to Israel for the top post at the United Nations. ILTV's Mayan Hoffman is standing by the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem with more. Mayan?
Well, Shosh, former U.S. Ambassador to Israel David Friedman is now up in the running for United States Ambassador to the United Nations. The move would come at a time when Israel and the Middle East are a big focus of U.S. President Donald Trump's foreign policy. Trump confirmed the news this week, saying Friedman is among a long list of around 30 interested candidates, calling it a star-making position. Friedman, who played a role in shaping U.S. policy in the Middle East during Trump's first term, has long been seen as a loyal Trump ally. Though he briefly fell out of favor for criticizing Trump's 2022 dinner with Kanye West, he later endorsed the president's 2024 re-election bid and remains a vocal supporter. Trump also named Richard Grenell, former ambassador to Germany, as another possible contender, though Grenell has since ruled himself out, saying, "This is not something I want to do." The renewed search follows Trump's withdrawal of Representative Elise Stefanik's nomination last week due to fears her departure could jeopardize the GOP's narrow House majority. In February, Trump announced plans to reassess U.S. involvement with the United Nations and its agencies, accusing them of acting against American interests and promoting anti-Semitism. The U.S. has since pulled funding from the World Health Organization. In 2018, Trump withdrew from the UN Human Rights Council.
Thanks, Mayan, for that report. And in some political news, former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett announced today that he has registered a new political party under the provisional name, quote, Bennett 2026, signaling a possible return to politics. Now, the former Prime Minister stepped away from the public eye after leaving office in 2022 when he served as Prime Minister for 1 year during the Bennett-Lapid alternative government. Now, Bennett has previously led the New Right Party and is now looking to lead a new party, as Bennett 2026 is officially registered to run in the next election cycle. And now here to make the process easier for American Olim looking to make Israel their new home is the Migdal Hatzuk 2 project, a high-quality, comforting, and familiar real estate in Netanya in the area of Park Hayam. Let's take a look.
As anti-Semitism continues to rise across the United States, many American Jews are making the decision to move to Israel. But for those arriving in a country with a high cost of living and an often complex real estate market, the question of where to live can feel overwhelming. In Netanya's picturesque Park Hayam neighborhood, the Migdal Hatzuk 2 project aims to make the process simpler. Created with American Olim in mind, the development offers high-quality housing solutions for those seeking to make Israel their new home.
Netanya actually offers a wonderfully attractive proposition for people making the move to Israel and considering where to live. As somebody who returned to Israel after 30 years away, so in a sense, I'm very much an Oleh Chadash myself, although going back a few years. Discovering Netanya was a revelation for me, something that I got to do through pursuing projects here. If you're looking to live in central Israel wonderful beachside town that offers you beautiful oceanfront, easy access, whether it's through car or public transportation to Tel Aviv and to the central area of the country, all the while still providing an attractive value proposition for families and for younger adults looking to live within different communities around here. Netanya is just this wonderful opportunity.
Unlike most developers, Migdal Hatzuk too brings expertise from decades of building experience in Canada, creating a standard of construction and design that feels familiar to North American Olim. This focus on comfort and familiarity aims to ease the challenging transition to life in Israel.
We certainly don't build the way most Israeli developers or contractors do. And I think in particular for people making a move from abroad to Israel, the Olim coming from North America, experience such a difficult transition to begin with, such a difficult change. Coming here and finding a project that offers them something very familiar, the kind of building standard, the kind of quality finish, and the kind of living experience that they're used to from North America can be a really wonderful way to ease the transition to life here.
The project's facilities cater to a wide range of people, from families with young children to empty nesters looking for a peaceful lifestyle. With amenities like gyms, yoga centers, kids' play areas, a residence club, community center, and party rooms, Migdal Hatzuk offers something for everyone.
What Migdal Hatzuk offers is this wide array of facilities and benefits to our clients, to the people that choose to live here. It's a wonderful sort of indoor gym, an outdoor gym, a yoga center, areas outside where people can have their own private enclosure for all kinds of activities, a club right of us that offers opportunity to hold parties and all kinds of facilities like that. And again, all that within this larger community that's here. It's really something that stands out, and we put a lot of thought into that, into providing people with the ability to create within this space experiences that feel sort of they come together as a community.
For those looking to make Israel their new home, the Migdal Hatzuk 2 project offers not only a place to live, but a community to belong to.
And today we have Tal Goodstadt in studio with us, who you just saw on your screen, joining us to talk more about the Migdal Hatzuk project 2. Tal, thanks so much for being here today. It looks beautiful in Netanya, my goodness.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us what made you want to start this project, why you decided to help American Olim.
Well, a couple of different things. This is actually our second project in the neighborhood, and being exposed to this neighborhood was also for me a first-time exposure to the city of Netanya, which I got to know in depth. A wonderful, wonderful place, beachside living, close to the center. And also in large part, it had to do with my own experience. Having left Israel as a young child, I returned in my mid-30s and experienced very much the kind of experience I think most Olim experience. All the wonderful and difficult parts of being an Oleh Chadash. Among those is also the difficulty of buying an apartment here, a very different experience than what you would have in North America. And so I thought we could leverage our experience as developers in North America, both in terms of the product that we provide and the experience that we provide for new home purchasers, to make things a little easier for other Olim who make the transition.
And tell us, are there more plans to develop the surrounding area?
Well, the neighborhood that our project is going up in is actually a brand new neighborhood, Park Hayam, Ocean Park. There are several buildings going up there, and perhaps I would say the high point of the neighborhood is a 15-acre park that runs right through it that will get developed alongside the completion of the buildings around it. So yes, lots going on other than just our building that's coming up there to make it a wonderful community for families and for young Olim.
Now, taking into consideration, of course, the situation happening here in Israel, are there safety preparedness plans for people who do come here and features that are incorporated into the buildings?
Well, definitely a consideration for a lot of Olim who look at buying in Israel in light of what we've gone through in the last year and a half. So what I can tell you is that our building, like all new buildings in Israel, has some very specific requirements to provide safe, comfortable living spaces that take into account the kind of threats that you might face in Israel. So for example, every apartment has a mamad, reinforced concrete walls, steel doors, and a high quality air filtration system to make it a comfortable experience in the case that you have to spend lengthy periods of time in there. So that's a standard thing in our building. So anybody moving into one of these apartments has the comfort of mind of knowing that they have that space in case they need it.
And tell us, if a new immigrant is currently looking into, what you do in the surrounding area, what would you tell them? What advice would you have for them as they step into this new journey that's brand new for them?
Well, first, I would say take a breath. Aliyah is not easy. It's got a lot of challenges to it. Second, I would say come have a look at Netanya. I know I had a lot of Olim. Part of the decision-making process is talking to others as well. I live in Ra'anana or I live in Tel Aviv, and sort of they head over there. Come see Netanya. It's a wonderful, wonderful seaside community. And in particular, come check out Park Hayam, where our project is. 200 meters or so from the ocean. This wonderful park that will be built in the center of it, and facilities and construction quality like you've come to know in North America and like you would expect if you were buying something in the United States or in Canada.
It is beautiful in Netanya, and so many buildings are going up, but just those, like you said, breathtaking views you can see on the ocean side, gorgeous.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for joining us today, Tal.
Thank you.
And now a remarkable discovery by a little girl on a family trip in Israel has unveiled a piece of ancient history. A 3-year-old found a rare Canaanite scarab seal dating back nearly 3,800 years. The find connects modern Israel with its deep historical roots. ILTV's Ariella Lachiani reports.
It was a routine family trip to Tel Azeka, a historical site near Beit Shemesh, when 3.5-year-old Ziv Nitzan from Moshav Ramot Meir made an unexpected discovery.
אנחנו הלכנו בשביל כאן. זיו התכופפה בין כל 70,000 אבנים שהיו לידה, והרימה אבן. ואז היא שפשפה את החול, וראתה שמשהו שונה באבן.
The special finding turned out to be a scarab amulet from the Middle Bronze Age, around 3,800 years ago. Scarabs like this were used as seals and amulets in ancient Canaan and Egypt, often bearing religious symbols or signs of status. The shape, inspired by the dung beetle, symbolized creation and new life in Egyptian culture. The Nitzan family quickly reported the find to the Israel Antiquities Authority, which confirmed its significance. In recognition of her contribution, Ziv was awarded a certificate for good citizenship. The seal will soon be displayed in a special exhibition for Passover, alongside other artifacts from the Egyptian and Canaanite periods. Tel Azeka, known for its connection to the biblical Battle of David and Goliath, has been under excavation for nearly 15 years. Archaeologists have uncovered city walls, agricultural installations, and other evidence of a thriving ancient civilization.
אנחנו מאוניברסיטת תל אביב חופרים את האתר הזה כבר כמעט 15 שנה. ובחפירות שלנו עולה שבתקופת הברונזה התיכונה והברונזה המאוחרת זאת הייתה אחת הערים החשובות ביותר בשפלה. ולכן הממצא הזה של חרפושית מצטרף להמון ממצאים מצריים וממצאים שנעשו כמו ממצאים מצריים.
The discovery highlights the deep historical layers still waiting to be uncovered in Israel. As Passover approaches, visitors to the Israel Antiquities Authority's exhibition will have the opportunity to see Ziv's scarab up close, connecting the past with the present. A tiny discovery by a young child, now a window into a world nearly 4,000 years old.
Thanks so much, Ariella, for that report. Now let's take a look at the weather forecast. Clear skies are expected around the country tonight, with temperatures reaching lows of about 14 degrees Celsius or 57 degrees Fahrenheit. Tomorrow, sunny skies are expected alongside hot weather, with temperatures reaching highs of 24 degrees Celsius or 75 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a wrap for today's news. For the latest updates from Israel on all of your devices, be sure to follow our ILTV channel, subscribe to our newsletter, and explore our website, iltv.tv. Stay informed with the latest news straight from the heart of Israel. I'm Shosh Bedrosian. Thanks so much for joining us today. Have a great day.